Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to take a look at the Transformers 2 Series 86 Voyager class Ratchet. Limited thing of this figure in the comment section down below. Is it a pickup or pass? Now let's take a look at the figure's packaging. So here we have the packaging. Starting at the very front, we have Transformers on the side. We have Autobot Ratchet in white text with a white Autobot symbol. We have Stu Series in black text with 86 and 23 in blue text. There's 23 because this is the 23rd figure, a part of the Stu Series 86 subline. We have a really cool image or artwork shot of Ratchet in his robot mode with his dual blasters. We have an open image displaying the figure when it would be in packaging. We have the Transformers the movie logo at that top corner there, and if we do look at the top of the box, we have another Transformers the movie logo. And as for the side of the packaging, we have 86, 23, and Stu Series going down the side of the box with Voyager class in several different languages, and a small close-up of Ratchet in his robot mode with his head and chest. And if we do look at the back of the box, the figure transforms in 25 steps. There's a product shot of him and his robot, his all mode, and of course displayed with his included backdrop. And there's also a brief bio saying Ratchet and the Autobot crew fight to defend the shuttle against a Decepticon attack. And as for the final side of the packaging, really just that same image or artwork shot taken from the front of the box, just put on the side here with 86. And that is pretty much it for the packaging. So let's now take a look at the included backdrop. So here we have the included backdrop. This is the Decepticon shuttle ambush backdrop. So just quickly taking a look at the details, we have the Transformers the movie logo right where you would display or place the included figure. We have the entire Autobot bridge of the shuttle with some really cool computer consoles and chairs with some really nice space and star detailing put in there as well. And as for the side flap, we have Transformers and 86. And as for the entire other side flap, we have 86, 23, and Stu Series and half an Autobot symbol. And since this is a display or sort of a stand, you can grab the included figure, that being a Ratchet, and just place him on there like that, and I think that looks pretty cool. And that is pretty much it for the included backdrop. Let's now get into the review. Here we have Ratchet in his van ambulance alt mode. Let's take a look at the details. Starting at the very front, I do like all that silver for the entire front grille section there with a very classic Autobot symbol done in red with some really nice silver for the entire sculpted in windshield wipers. And I do like this big piece of transparent blue plastic for the entire front windscreen. And there's actually some more on the sides of the ambulance or the van, which is a nice touch. I do like the shade of blue they chose, but unfortunately for this section here, it probably should have been a bit more tinted or a darker shade of blue because you can actually see the back of the head from the rope mode, which doesn't look the greatest. And if you actually do look at the top, I do have a complaint with the color matching between the painted white and the plastic white, because you can actually see this section here looks very different from this midsection and other sections of the van. I do have to say it probably is more noticeable when I actually have Ratchet here, and of course Ironhide when it's in the review station or the review booth for of course my reviews, because I have very bright lights actually turned on and I'm using right now. So probably when you had Ironhide and Ratchet in hand, it's probably not as noticeable. I just wanted you to keep that in mind and to show you, but I definitely think the color matching could have been better. That being said, I still do think the 86 versions of Ratchet and Ironhide are a massive improvement over the Earthrise and Siege versions of those characters. But taking a look at the top again, we actually do have a light bar piece, which is removable if you wanted to. If you just wanted to have like a plain white and blue van and just take the ambulance piece or the light piece and just put it off to the side, you could. Also, another option is if you actually do remove the entire light bar piece, there will be two tabs there if you do want to store the blasters on top, which I probably won't ever remove this because I actually prefer the weapon storage for the blasters on the bottom, which I'll show off in just a sec. But I do like how there's several different kind of combinations and ways you can store the light bar and the blasters. I think that looks really cool. And again, those really nice transparent blue windows over here, which this look doesn't bother me as much because of course there's no actual kibble or anything visible through there. Of course, the head is actually at the front, but here you really can't see much inside there, which is really good. And I do like the silver for the inner part of the wheel and the black for the tire. I'm pretty sure all four wheels are mushroom peg, but you actually can't see the exposed mushroom peg, so it really doesn't bother me. And of course, they have the back section here, which I definitely think is very bare. I really wish they had maybe painted or still put another piece of transparent blue plastic for this back window, because it's just white. It seems a bit boring and bland. Like maybe they could have put like a license plate and an Autobot symbol, something just to make it a bit more interesting. And of course, just showing off the bottom. Overall, everything's pretty well put away. the top, and it overall does roll pretty well for just being, mushroom peg wheels. And as for accessory storage, of course, I did previously mention you can remove the light bar piece, and of course you can swap that with the blasters, but the main way I prefer to store the blasters is actually at the back. So there is 2 tabs here for the back wheels, and there is of course slots on both sides of the blasters, because it really doesn't matter which blaster you put on each side. You can of course just flip them over, but you can store them like that using those tabs and slots, and just tab those into place. And this actually forms the exhaust pipes, which I always thought was a really cool creative option. I was very impressed with that. And they are blaster piece compatible, because of course they also do act as is weapons in the robot mode. So if you wanted to, you could actually attach some really cool effects pieces and have them blast off in a battle, or blast off into of course the battlefield to repair and save some Autobots, which I think is really cool. I do like the weapons, of course. They're just the same ones that came with Ironhide, so no surprise there. I guess you could maybe consider the light bar piece to be an accessory. I don't really think you could use it in any other way as a light piece, it really just has one function. But I definitely think Ratchet could have maybe had like some tools or like a wrench or something to repair some Autobots. That's one thing I definitely do prefer on the Siege release of Ratchet over this one. He actually came with a really cool kind of a wrench tool, and I think he also came with like a welding weapon to like fix metal, or kind of get pieces of metal and like put them back together. So that's one thing I definitely like on that version over this one. But that is it for accessory storage. So now for some alt mode comparisons. Here he is with his mold mate, that being of course the original 86 Voyager class Ironhide, and I think they look very cool side by side. And let me know in the comments of the two, which one do you prefer? And at the moment, I actually really don't know. I guess if I were to be very, technical and picky, probably overall, like, enjoyability-wise, like tolerances, joint tightness, everything like that, I think probably Ratchet is the better of the two, but just, like, design-wise, I'm not really sure. Just getting into the nitty-gritty, I definitely do prefer Ratchet, being very picky, like, as a reviewer, but just overall, just the character in general, like Ratchet or Ironhide, I really can't choose at the moment. I'm kind of torn, but let me know which one you prefer. But they do look very cool side by side, and overall mold wise they're pretty much the exact same thing. The only change of course is the light bar piece and of course the head inside, but that mostly comes into play later for the robot mode. But as you can see there, since Ironhide doesn't have the light bar piece, he just has those 2 tabs. So if you do remove that light bar piece, this is pretty much what you're going to have on top, those 2 tabs. So I typically like to keep that piece there, because I actually really don't like those 2 tabs open exposed. Looks a bit ugly in my opinion. But if you do want a bit of a side view, overall pretty cool. And of course a back view. They both have their blasters stored at the back for their exhaust pipes. And that is it for that comparison. Now for another one. Here he has the core class 86 Ratchet at the back and the side, and then of course at the front. And I think they look pretty cute side by side there. But that is pretty much it for comparisons and this ambulance van alt mode. Let's now get down to transformation. So now for transformation, what you want to do is grab the entire front half and the back half of the ambulance, and you're actually just going to split both sections down the middle like that. You don't need to fully remove or split the entire ambulance or alt mode in half. You just want to make sure these 2 tabs are separate from this panel. And if this entire front section hasn't untabbed already, just grab the entire front bumper section, disconnect that, and just hinge this down and out of the way for now. We'll get back to that a little bit later in the transformation. Then you can actually fully fold out this panel, fold in these small little panels here on the inside, and again we'll go back to that a little bit later in the transmission. Then you're actually going to grab this entire panel here, hinge this down, untab this panel like that, fold this back up and hinge this back like that, and then there is a tab there and a slot right there, and just tab that into place and just fold this panel about halfway. You don't want to fully collapse it because we're actually going to mess with the arms and the legs, and you don't want those panels getting in the way or moving. And of course you're going to repeat all those steps I just showed the exact same way on the other side. So just hinge this entire section out, and then of course fold this back. There is a tab there and a slot right there, tab that into place. And again, don't fully fold this down, just do it about halfway because you don't want it kind of moving or getting messed up or getting in the way. Then you can actually untab the arms from the legs. There's slots there and tabs right here, and then you can actually pretty much split this entire back half or back section of the ambulance in the middle or down the middle like that. And as you can see how all this is tabbed together is tabs on this side and slots on that side. And now you can actually fully collapse these panels just like that. And then what you can do is actually grab this entire back section, hinge this down like that. You can fold in the window, fold the secondary panel over it, and there we have one foot all done. You can repeat the exact same process on their side. So just hinge this entire section down like that, fold in the windscreen or window, fold this panel over the top, and just slide that into place. And then of course you can fold these front leg panels down and into place as well. And let me just kind of quickly straighten up the legs, then we can actually go back to kind of the top half or main chest section of the robot mode. And then you can actually hinge this entire section back, rotate this all the way around, and then as you can see there's this entire kind of slot connection section where the waist and crotch is, and that will just tab into place like that, nice and securely. And then what you can do is actually go to the arms. You can actually split them down the middle. There is a tab on this side and a slot on this side, and that will just hinge out like that. And the shoulder will just tab into the chest like that. There's a tab on the shoulder and two slots pretty much where the armpit region is, and that will just tab into place. And then you can fold out the hand, repeat the same process on their side, just tap it in, fold out the hand like that, and then you can go to the back of the figure. There's two tabs and there's these slots right there, and that will just tab into place nice and securely. You can open up this entire panel right here. You can actually grab the head, just kind of fold this up and out, and then just fold the secondary panel in, and that will just fold up and form the chest. And let me just quickly straighten up the figure and place them down. And that is it for transformation. Let's now take a look at the details. Here we have Ratchet in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very top with the head sculpt. We have some really nice white for the entire helmet section, with some silver for the face, some blue for the eyes, and some gray for the entire crest section. I just like the really nice big piece of transparent blue plastic for the entire chest, with some really nice silver for the sculpted and windshield wipers, and a very classic Autobot symbol done in red there. There's actually another Autobot symbol on each shoulder, but interesting enough, I'm pretty sure when they revealed this figure on a Hasbro live stream, they actually said there's an assigned name or a specific name for that symbol. I think it's like the Autobot sign of life, or like a sign of life, something like that, which I think is kind of a cool backstory. It's actually kind of cool they took that much time and attention to actually create a name for this symbol. I think it's a nice detail to mention. And of course there's some more white for the bicep and the forearm, and I do like the glossy red for the hands. I think that looks pretty cool, and there's some actually really nice sculpt work for the thumbs and the fingers there. And we have some more red for the crotch and the skirt piece there, and some more white for the top of the legs and the front of the legs, and actually some really nice surface detailing. And if we do look at that side profile there, and overall not looking too bad, pretty well compact. There's a bit of panels on the sides of the leg, but definitely not the worst I've seen. And looking at the back, there's a bit of a backpack. This is actually just kind of the bumper section, but there's actually a use for it. There's a purpose. This actually does kind of play into accessory storage, so I'm perfectly fine with that being there. And I actually do like how there's the wheels, the front wheels back there, looking pretty cool, done in black and silver. We actually do have the siren, or kind of the light bar piece there, done in red and white, which is a removable. If you want to, you can actually remove these and use accessory storage for the blasters there, because there's actually tabs on them. But I typically like to have the weapons in the hands, which I'll get more into the accessory storage in just a sec, but that's an option if you want to. But that is it for details. So now for articulation, it's pretty much the exact same as the previous version of this mold, that being 86 Voyager class Ironhide. But if you don't own that figure, I'd say it's actually very impressive for a Voyager class figure. So starting at that head, of course, it can slightly look up and down, tilt side to side, look left and right. The arms can move out and in, forward and back. Of course, there is a bicep rotation and elbow bend forward and back, mostly due to transformation. And if you actually do hold the arm in the forearm in place, there is a full functioning wrist rotation. If we do move the arms out of the way, there is a full functioning waist rotation all the way around, which is pretty cool. The wheels do slightly get in the way. They kind of scrape this piece, but I'm pretty sure this isn't painted, so I don't think there'll be any like paint chipping involved, so it doesn't really bother me or worry me. But of course the legs can kick out, in. And if we do move that skirt piece out of the way, they can also kick forward and back. There's also, of course, rotation at the top of the leg, and knee bend to a very good degree, and none of those panels get in the way or hinder it at all. And if we do move the leg down, of course, the foot can pivot forward, back. There's also an ankle pivot to a very good degree. And that is pretty much it for articulation. Let me just quickly straighten up the figure. As you can see, he's quite messed up at the moment, but very good articulation, really no complaints, nothing's missing, excellent movement and pivots with the feet, just all across the board, just absolutely amazing. And I actually do have to say, I think the tolerances for Ratchet are actually better than at least my copy of Ironhide anyway. Of course, it can really vary per, person, like some people's tolerances on Ironhide could be better than their Ratchet or vice versa. That's just kind of how it happened with me. I think his tolerances are much better, a lot of the panels stay into place better, the feet just overall, most of the core joints are just a lot tighter. But as for accessories, he does come with the same two simple silver blasters that came with Ironhide, which I think look pretty cool, and they can be stored in his hand or actually on the back. So if you do flip the figure all the way around, you can store both pistols on the back. I'm just going to show one because I'm going to quickly remove them and actually show them in the hand, but you can, if you want to, store the other one on the other side if you want to, just a simple tab and slot connection. But there we go. And as for the number one way of storing these weapons, of course, are in his hands, so it's just that post and port connection. Just slide that into place and just grabbing the other one. Again, just sliding that into place, and I think that looks pretty cool, and that is it for accessory storage. Starting off our comparisons here, we have the 86 Voyager class Ratchet compared alongside the previous version of this mold, that being the 86 Voyager class Ironhide, and the only mold change between the two is the head sculpt and the light bar piece on the back of the legs for Ratchet's ambulance mode. And let me know in the comments of the two versions of this mold, which one do you prefer? Also, would you like to see maybe another repaint retool of this mold into a new or old character? Let me know in the comments. Now for another comparison, here we have the 86 Voyager class Ratchet compared alongside the 86 Deluxe class Brawn. And what figure would you like to see revealed next in this Stu Series 86 subline? Let me know in the comments. So now for one final comparison, here we have the 86 Voyager class Ratchet compared alongside the Siege Deluxe class Ratchet. And you may be wondering, why has there been so much interest and excitement with this latest Ratchet figure? Well, the reason is because it's actually been quite a while that we had a proper, easily accessible mainline Ratchet that everyone can get. Because actually this Siege one you see before you was a Walgreens exclusive, and those are pretty hard to come by. You can't easily just, walk into Walgreens and find one, because of all the Walgreens exclusive Hasbro and Transformers has released, I've actually never found one from Walgreens directly. I've always had to pay overpriced prices on usually eBay or Mercari, so they're not easy to find. And the one following that, it was a heavy retool of that mold. It was an Earthrise. That was an Amazon exclusive. It was a 2-pack, and of course, even if that wasn't an exclusive, most people really didn't want that second figure because that was actually a retool of Earthrise RC, and a lot of people didn't like that mold. So there was multiple primes and reasons why people did not want to pick up that set. And that set actually goes for crazy prices on the aftermarket right now. I actually recently checked. I've actually seen that set go for like $200 to $300. It's insane. So that's the reason why so many people are interested in this figure, because they actually finally have two things. They finally have actually a major improvement over the last two Ratchets, because of course the Earthrise one parts formed. This one, of course, the feet would stick out the back of the van. No one liked that, and some people really didn't like the battle damage. This one was a more futuristic kind of Cybertron and war-torn one. Some people really just wanted kind of a proper G11, and this one 100% does that. And of course, two, it's not an exclusive. We can actually finally easily get one from pretty much anywhere, Target, H-E-B, Walmart, Hasbro themselves. So that's actually really good. They checked both those boxes, and many people who are missing those past two Ratchets can finally get a proper one to fill in their collection. But let me know in the comments, of all the previous Ratchets we've actually had in the past several years, which one is your favorite? Of course, you could include the core class one if you want to. I really wasn't counting that one because it's a core class. I was mostly really just counting, the proper Voyager to Deluxe class size. But of the four ones we've gotten recently of the G1 design, Siege, Stu Series, Earthrise, or the core class one, which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comments. Let's now get down to reverse transformation. So now for reverse transformation, what you're going to do is grab the entire shoulder and arm and just hinge this entire section out and up like that. You can repeat the exact same step and process on the other shoulder and arm, and then you can actually grab the form and just push the hand all the way back to pretty much that open cavity at the back or the other side of the form. And you can repeat the exact same step and process on the other hand and form, so just push that back like that. And then you can go to the very back of the figure. You can actually grab the entire front bumper and grill section or backpack section of the figure. untab that. As you can see, there is 2 tabs in these slot sections right there, and just hinge this entire section as far down as possible. Why this step is so important is you're actually going to rotate this entire section, this top section, kind of the chest and the head, all the way around to form the front of the ambulance mode. I'll show off that step in just a sec, but of course, if you do not do this step, of course, you won't be able to do that. And if you don't push it far down enough, it'll be in the way. So just make sure it's out of the way and not interfering with that very important step of the transformation. Then, of course, you can go back to the front. You're actually going to hinge the entire chest panel all the way out, which will actually reveal this entire secondary panel, which you can fold out like that. And as you can see, there's 2 smaller little panels on the inside, and these will just fold out like that. Fold them out like that. And then as you can see, there's this huge cavity pretty much inside the chest, and you can actually grab the head and just fold that inside into place like that. And then you can slightly angle or kind of tilt the shoulders back like that. And then you can actually untab the entire shoulder kind of armpit section from the chest. As you can see, there's 2 slots and a tab where the armpit is. And then you can just hinge this entire shoulder and arm back into place like that. And of course, repeat the exact same step on the other side. So just untab the entire armpit section or shoulder section from the chest. And these both arm sections, the form sections, will actually tab into place. There's a tab on the inside of this form and a corresponding slot. And that will just align up and tab into place like that. Now, according to the instructions, you are supposed to just fold this entire front windscreen or kind of window section of the ambulance down. Unfortunately, in my copy, it doesn't really stay into place. I've seen quite a few reviews and other copies where they actually do stay into place. Mine doesn't really want to stay until I actually finish all the other areas of the transformation, you know, once it's actually done, when everything's tabbed into place. So if it does kind of move around, I do apologize. That might happen. I'm going to try and kind of put one finger on it through the transformation so it just stays there and doesn't move around a lot. But then what you want to do is actually untab pretty much the entire top half of the robot, and of course the bottom half, the legs, just pretty much separate them like that. And how all this is tabbed into place is there is 2 tabs here, and as you can see, there's this entire kind of slot connection section where the waist is, or kind of the crotch region. And of course, the step I actually previously mentioned when I was moving the entire bumper kind of grill section. So that is why this is so important. So that's out of the way. So then you can actually rotate this entire section on that swivel all the way around. And then you can actually hinge this back. And using that same slot section I just showed you, there is 2 tabs here. And that will just tab into place like that. Again, I do apologize, that thing moves around a bit too much for my liking. And then you can actually get the entire bumper section or grill section, and that will just tab into place. And there we have pretty much the entire front half of the ambulance all done. Let's actually now focus on the legs, the back portion of the ambulance. You can actually get this entire panel, hinge this all the way up and out, all the way up and out, like that. And how this is tabbed into place is there is a slot there and a tab pretty much on the outside, or sort of the inside of the panel. And then you can actually fold up these panels pretty much at the front of the legs, just hinge them up like that. And then you can actually get the foot. You're just going to fold this panel out, get the entire windscreen panel, fold that out as well, and just hinge this entire section up. And this is actually going to form pretty much the entire back section of the ambulance. So you're just going to fold this in. As you can see, there is a tab and a slot, and of course a corresponding tab and slot. And that will just align up and tab into place. You can repeat the exact same step and process on their side. So just hinge this entire panel out, get the windscreen panel as well, hinge this entire section up, and tab that into place like that. And then you can actually align both legs together. There is a slot and a tab and a tab. And that will just tab into place nice and securely. And then you can actually tab the arms, or what used to be the arms, into these tabs right here. There's slots there, and that will just align up nice and securely and into place. And one way you know you did this correctly is the arms will actually be slightly angled up. You can actually see the biceps are slightly actually bent at sort of an angle. You do not want them to be flat or actually pointing down. You actually want them slightly angled up like that. And then you can actually grab both panels and hinge these in to place like that. And sometimes they can come untabbed, but you're just going to kind of work around this cutout. As you can see here, you're just going to use this cutout that's going to go around this entire hinge section, so that will just slowly kind of align into place like that. And there we go. And again, sometimes some things can come untabbed. You just got to align that up. There we go. There we have one side all done. Do the exact same thing on their side. So there is a slot there and a tab right there, and that will just tab into place like that. And here's probably the most tricky part, which I really don't like about this mold or this figure, is these two tabs are actually clear plastic, and they're really thick, hard to tab in tabs. They're really stiff. It's never really fun to do because I'm always worried about them cracking or breaking. So do be aware of that before purchasing this figure. It does stay, but again, as I said, they're clear plastic. So I'm assuming probably at some point in time when I, maybe years later, maybe tomorrow or today, they'll probably will crack or maybe slightly break, but you just want to tab that into place. It's a very secure connection, but I really don't know why they chose to use clear plastic for those tabs. That never really made sense to me, and I think they did the same thing for Ironhide too. But that is it for reverse transformation. Let's now get down to the final thoughts. Now for my final thoughts on the Transformers 2 Series 86 Voyager class Ratchet. If you didn't know, this is the first time in several years we've gotten a Ratchet figure that wasn't an exclusive, so it's nice to get a mainline Ratchet where people can easily track it down and add it to their collection. Ratchet is using the 86 Ironhide mold with a new head sculpt and light bar piece for the ambulance mode, which is removable. Ratchet includes the same two silver pistols as Ironhide, which can be stored in the hands or on the back in the remote mode. I like the blasters, but Ratchet is a medic, so it would have been nice if he included some tools so Ratchet could repair and fix wounded Autobots. Articulation is amazing, probably up with the same level of posability as Voyager class Tarn. Ratchet's Tarnses are actually better than my copy of Ironhide. Transformation is the same as the previous version of the mold, but if you do not have that figure, I would say the transformation is quite complex and involving. Ratchet's van ambulance mode looks great, very G1 simple with a nice creamy white color as the base color of the alt mode. And the transparent blue for the windows looks amazing, but unfortunately they forgot the back window. Also, the small light bar at the top is a nice cute small detail. For weapon storage, you can attach both silver pistols underneath the alt mode to form the exhaust pipes, which I think is a nice creative option. What do you think of this figure? Let me know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this review, and I will see you next time.